All right, y'all, here we go. I'm finally back from LA, and we're here to talk about the San Francisco 49ers against the Rams. Levi South, 100%. Gosh, 90% 49er fans. 49er fans ride deep for sure. Jimmy Garoppolo, big day. Christian McCaffrey, everything we could have hoped for and more. And offense, defense, second half adjustments. The Ram killer Debo Samuel not out there. Didn't matter. We're going to talk about all that and more right now on the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. Let's go.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Eric Crocker. Over midfield, he'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Cross Talk TV podcast. Peace.
Welcome to another episode of the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker, and just got back late last night, 11 p.m., maybe midnight. My wife and I rode in. My wife went to the game, and finally she spent the weekend with me. Now, while my wife went, wasn't really so much for the 49ers. I had a business meeting with a company that I'm excited to see, see where this goes. Starting to get to little investments, man. Who would have thought? I do want to say, and I see the comment in here in the chat, RIP Takeoff, and I'm not the biggest Migos fan, but it's just always sad, somebody young use their life, 28 years old, and sound like it was over a dice game. I had a family member get killed over a dice game, man, and tough stuff, man. That's tough. So prayers up to Migos, prayers up to everyone, all the Takeoff's family members, man, and that's sad. That's sad. That's a sad way to kind of start the show, but. Yeah, just got back, man, and that was fun. That was a fun game to be at. Now, listen, there's a lot of things that you miss being at the game, and somebody mentioned, Croc, you're always sitting up in the nosebleeds. It's like, look, in my opinion, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, the best seat in the house, the best seat to watch football is at home, is not at the game. Especially on the road. Now, I do like to experience different stadiums. Just to say I've been there. I went to Soldier Field week 1, and it was exciting. Man, Soldier Field, it's just a historic kind of landmark. And I like experiencing those things. I would definitely want to go to Lambeau Field. I want to go to Lambeau Field. I want to go to a playoff game at Lambeau Field. And but I don't really go to the game to actually watch the game. I like to tailgate and I like interacting with everybody. When I'm at home, I watch the game by myself. So John Chapman, he has his parties and stuff. That's always fun to attend. And again, I had that business meeting. If it weren't for the business meeting, I probably would not have gone to LA. All right, but it's always fun, just kind of interacting with everybody, interacting with a lot of fans of Locked On 49ers. So shout out to all those people as well. That's always really dope. I was looking for my seats, and I'm looking man, where are my seats? And I just hear people in the stands Croc, and I'm like, what's up? So my wife is like, what? People really like you. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool, huh? All right, but anyways, we're going to talk about some things from the game because you miss a lot of stuff watching it in person, especially on the road. They don't show replays and stuff, and I can see plays develop, so I actually kind of like sitting up high, but sometimes you might miss something. I missed how did Ross Dwelly get so wide open? Now, I have rewatched it, and I got some notes. Here. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of just kind of the experience. So, I got Johnny here. He says, Croc, did we take over the stadium? People say, Levi South. It really, that's what it is. If I had to guess, I'd say it was 90% 49er fans. I heard on the TV broadcast they were saying 50-50. There wasn't no 50-50. Even my wife was like, why are there so many 49er fans? My homegirl, Katie, she was with us. She's like, why is it all 49er fans here? It literally, if not 50, not saying 90%, that might be a little dramatic, but it was closer to 90% than it was 50%. I'll say that. Much closer. All right, so here we go. good with you. Hey, I just answered the questions people asked me. They asked me some things. This girl walked up to me after the game and was like, I love Jimmy G, but I love Trey Lance. She was clearly hella drunk. There was some people that were sloppy drunk. Sloppy drunk. All right. But yeah, I got two Wi-Fi's in my house. All right. So most of y'all, I don't know. Like anybody, not saying I got this big old house or anything like that. But my house is big enough to where I'm at, like where my office is, it's kind of away or whatever. So I have a separate Wi-Fi. So if I'm on the first Wi-Fi, which I was in there editing Locked On NFL Draft earlier, so when I came in here, I never switched to it. Anyways, forget that. We good. We here. And before we get into it, I did see this comment here before I even went live, and I was like, okay, like, you know what? Let's talk about this just a little bit. Croc took another L. He didn't like the Christian McCaffrey trade. My man, wrong. You spelled wrong, but a lot now. Hufanga, Banks, CMC, and others. Let's talk about that. The only thing, and I don't really have to buy, I just have a separate Wi-Fi. So I got a whole modem right here. All right, but the only thing, damn, I lost that damn message now. Where was it at? Oh, here we go. Wrong about a lot. So why do y'all, and this is my thing too with Locked On 49ers listeners as well. Why do y'all listen to podcasts? Why do y'all view into YouTube channels? Why do y'all, watch TV and what they have to say, etc.? If you want me or even Peacock, because Peacock definitely, me a little bit, but definitely Peacock, tagged a lot about his thoughts on Christian McCaffrey, the trade, etc., and just his thoughts. If you ask me and Peacock, or at least me for sure, is Christian McCaffrey a damn good running back, one of the best running backs in the league? I would say 100%, right? So it's not that I ever in a million years thought Christian McCaffrey is not a really good football player, a terrific running back. Like that's not the case. So when you say wrong on Christian McCaffrey, that's not where you could say I was wrong. Not just in the sense of the player being good and being able to produce. My questions with the trade was, can he be good enough, right? Again, Christian McCaffrey, great running back. Is he good enough to overcome the draft capital you gave up and the money you have to give him, which potentially can make it to where next year you lose other players that probably contribute to winning? And how much better is he from that standpoint than an Elijah Mitchell from a production standpoint? That was my question. That was my question. It was never that Croc thought, oh, Christian McCaffrey, why would you trade for him? He's just bad. Like, bro, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Let's go down. Hufanga. Hufanga was a 5th round pick. I have a video in the color. And some people, when Hufanga got good, people like tagged him. I think they looked at the caption, and the caption says something along the lines of Hufanga overrated or something. And the actual video and cut up was me talking about how is it a 5th round guy overrated? And why is everybody saying that he's overrated before he even really plays? He played like two games last year or whatever he played. People are like, oh, Hufanga, he's the most overrated player. I'm like, how are people saying that this dude that is overrated? What are we talking about? How can a 5th round pick be overrated? How? So, yeah, I gave my analysis on Hufanga. So again, why do y'all listen to me, Locked On 49ers, David Lombardi, whoever you listen to, is to get a different perspective than, I don't want to say the casual fan, but what everybody's talking about, right? Like fans, if you want to hear me just come on here and say everybody's great, everybody's amazing, every decision that the the front office makes is an excellent decision, then I'm not the person to talk to, because I'm gonna question things. Hey, why they do this? Or why would they do that? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna ask those questions. Hey, does this make sense to do this? Oh man, you do this, you might do this. And I just try to bring that perspective. So to me, it's not so much about being right or wrong. It's about bringing a different perspective than if you were just talking to your friends. And that's what I try to do. Aaron Banks. You're wrong about Aaron Banks. How's I wrong about Aaron Banks? The motherfucker didn't play his whole rookie year. I watched Aaron Banks at Notre Dame. Aaron Banks at Notre Dame. That film. Okay, so his analysis coming out of college. He was not a fit for what the 49ers wanted to do. He wasn't. I didn't see it. I didn't see the fit. Now, I said, you know what? He'd probably be good in the Pittsburgh Steelers power scheme. Now, the 49ers agree with me. You know how I know? Because he didn't fucking play as a rookie at all. You're a second round pick. They want you on the field. Well, whatever my analysis was of him coming out of Notre Dame, that was right. Now, can you improve? Of course. I talked about it with Danny Gray. I said it early on Danny Gray. Hey, Danny Gray, there's some different things that he needs to improve on before he ends up being the player that the 49 fans think he is. I didn't think he used the threat of his speed well. En route to free himself up underneath, etc. There were a lot of different things, right? I pointed out in film, and they're crying, you are wrong. Well, guess what? Danny Gray isn't playing. He's barely playing. All right? And that's not to say that down the line he won't. That's not to say that next year Danny Gray won't be great. But what I thought of him coming out, I'm like, man, he needs to work at XYZ or it's going to be really tough. And guess what? He probably needs to work at XYZ and it's tough. That's why does Danny Gray have a catch? I'm getting hot in here. It's getting hot in here. Yeah. Another one I talked about, and I actually kind of wrote it down here, so I'll touch on it. But Brandon Ayuk. I was the one that said, I want to see Brandon Ayuk be more consistent, be better at beating man coverage. I think he has the ability to do it, but I don't think he's freeing himself up versus man as much as you would like. Well, he's doing it. Let's go. He's doing it. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. So anyways, I think here's the one thing I would say that right or wrong, because this is the one where I really was out there on it. Trey Lance. If Trey Lance does not end up good, that's the one where y'all could be like, Croc, you were wrong. Because prior to the draft, all right, I said if it were me, I don't care who I'm taking Trey Lance over any of these other quarterbacks. And I said that prior to the draft. So that's the one where I really stuck my neck out for. Aside from that, I just give analysis. But that was the one where I'm like, I would take him over any other quarterback in this class. So if Trey Lance doesn't work out, then you could be like, Croc, you were wrong on Trey Lance. And I'd be like, you know what? You damn right. But as far as Banks, the analysis was correct. CMC, love the player. Ayuk has gotten better at beating man coverage, being more consistent. He's always had the ability, But we just come on here and talk. I hate that I even had to say that. I don't know. If you want me with pom-poms and cheering on every single thing and not questioning anything that they do or bringing a different perspective on it, then I'm just not the person to listen to. I'm just not the person to listen to. Here we go. Damon, you were also wrong about arranging Banks this offseason, but so was everyone else. I think I'm missing a word here. Arranging Banks this offseason, so was everyone else. I'm not sure, but I will say, look, he didn't play as a rookie. They didn't think he was good enough. And this year, it was kind of a wait-and-see type thing. One thing I know is, and from what I've seen, and you might not know how long it's going to take, and look at my guy Geno Smith. Are people like, you know what? Anybody that said Geno couldn't play was wrong. No, Geno just started coming to his own. It just took 8-9 years or whatever it was, right? But because of Geno Smith is balling right now, was everybody just 100% wrong before? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Guys get better. Guys get better. That's what guys get better. And I know that. And that's why I typically don't be like, oh, Aaron Banks will never be good. You cannot pull up a video of me saying a football player won't be good ever. You will never hear me say that a guy can't be good. You'll never hear me say Aaron Banks will never be good ever. All right, anyways, man, let's get into some more important stuff. All right, I put some notes down, and of course, I'm going to send the link in here to bring y'all on, all that good stuff. All right, big day for Jimmy Garoppolo. And, tonight we got the show with myself and my guy, Greg Pinelli. So we're going to be going over film and all that. All right, but big day for him, very efficient. So I watched all 22, not all 22 yet. I watched the game back. All right, I watched the game back. So here's some things that just jumped out to me right away. All right, just simple notes. One, 49ers on the first play of the game lined up in 21 personnel. Now, the interesting thing about the 49ers lined up in 21 personnel is typically they do that with a running back and Kyle Juszczyk. I think it's kind of hot in here. A running back and Kyle Juszczyk. Well, there is no Kyle Juszczyk. So who's the other back? Well, it was Jeff Wilson and Christian McCaffrey on the first play of the game. Now, the thing that's even more interesting, right? Because when you hear 21 personnel, you got one back, maybe a fullback that's lined up, I formation or whatever, maybe a fullback that's a little offset. But they actually had Christian McCaffrey in the slot, and they had Jeff Wilson to the left. Here we go. All right. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And that might show right away that maybe they are trying to do things a little bit different with the running backs. All right. One thing that I questioned about the Christian McCaffrey trade was, are the 49ers going to throw the running backs more? And I think you would think like, yeah, well, of course, you get Christian McCaffrey, you're going to change your offense. And that was my thing like, well, 49ers historically under Kyle Shanahan have not thrown the running backs. Maybe some of the least in the NFL. All right. Maybe some of the least in the NFL attempts to the running back. Just very, very low. And I was like, are they going to change their whole offense? Well, clearly they did. But not just for Christian McCaffrey, which was interesting. They actually threw a couple of passes to Jeff Wilson, including on the first play of the game. McCaffrey in the slot, Wilson in the backfield. Wilson runs a little whip route. Boom! Jimmy Garoppolo hits him. I was like, that's interesting. All right, and 21 personnel, by the way, 21 personnel is 2 backs, 1 tight end. All right. You got 21 personnel, you got 11 personnel. 11 personnel is typically 1 back, 1 tight end. You got 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends. All right, so if you hear me say that, that's what that stuff means. All right, and I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all know that, but maybe some people don't. I don't know. All right, but second play, again, 21 personnel with both Jeff Wilson and McCaffrey in the game. So I just thought that was intriguing in the sense of really kind of utilizing both backs. And it wasn't until later in the game, I think second half, when Jeff Wilson actually got a carry. A lot of the load was more so on Christian McCaffrey, running the rock, catching the rock, all that stuff. But I thought that was really cool. All right. There's a deep ball to McCray, late, short, high point. All right, so, and we'll get more into the specifics of the quarterback stuff with Greg Pinelli later. Greg Pinelli, he's going to have it out for some of y'all. So if you don't want to hear his mouth, because, you know how y'all be getting at Greg about this whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing. So he's got something to say. All right, but anyways, Jimmy Garoppolo was late on the throw to McCray on a deep post. And not only was he late, he was late and underthrew it. Now, the one thing I will say about that, gosh, it's hot in here. I need to take off this hoodie. The one thing I will say about that is, yes, late, threw it short, whatever. And I'm not saying that this is McCray's fault or anything like that, but in that scenario, right, your quarterback's late, underthrown ball, etc., go ahead and high point the ball. Don't wait on it to come down to you. Attack it. And with him attacking it, you might get a PI call on the one. How many times do we see underthrown balls result in pass interferences? And in my head, it's like, man, what the hell is the DB supposed to do? The ball was underthrown. Well, you 49ers, you can benefit off of that as well if your receiver goes and attacks the ball. So, McCray, why am I saying McCray? McLeod. There we go. Did I write McLeod down or McCray? I wrote down McCray. My bad. McLeod. So, McLeod, Ray McLeod, high point the ball. And you probably get the benefits of that, of a call, a pass interference call. So that's kind of my thoughts. My bad, guy. My bad, my guys. Y'all know. All right, but Ray McLeod. Shout out to him. Shout out to Ray McLeod. I think he did a terrific job on special teams as well. He also had a nice catch over the middle, got banged, hit hard. They threw a flag, but good job by him holding on to it. And shout out to Ray McLeod. Might have been one of the unsung heroes in this game. Between getting banged, holding on to the ball, getting the flag, being Johnny on the spot with the fumble by Christian McCaffrey, ball popped up. Next thing you know, McLeod is on the ground and he just like catches a fumble in his chest on a touchdown to George Kittle. McLeod actually sealed off the end, making it to where Jimmy Garoppolo could throw the ball to George Kittle, kind of late, nice little layer throw. All right, so Ray McLeod, he did a lot of little things that helped contribute to wins. That was really cool to see. All right, but anyways, I had some thoughts on the defense. The first thing was I thought the Rams did a really good job early on of countering the 49ers blitzes from the first week. So 49ers blitzed a ton in that first game that they played. All right. And this time the Rams said, you know what? We're not going to let you do that to us again. We're going to dink and dunk you. We're going to get the ball at the hands quick. We're going to throw screens. We're going to do all these things where, okay, you're going to blitz us. You're going to send pressure. Your pass rusher is going to get upfield right now. Well, we're going to offset that with screens. And I thought they did a good job of that early on. Obviously, 49ers made second half adjustments or whatever they did, but blanked their ass in the second half. All right. But that was one thing where I was like, yeah, the Rams definitely, they countered the blitzes from the first game with screens in this game. Hufanga, he continues to be somebody that's always around the ball. He had an interception in the end zone. Obviously, it was called back. They called holding on somebody, but the ball got popped up in the air. Hufanga, Johnny on the spot, right place, right time. And I said this about Hufanga, and he did this at USC, and he's just a playmaker. So he's just always going to be around the ball. Always going to be around the ball, always going to be in position to make a play somehow, some way. And you wonder, again, and when the guy said, oh, Croc, you were wrong about this. I could have been wrong about, hey, man, well, I don't want to say wrong. He stepped slow, right? So how do you overcome that? Got to be able to overcome that with anticipation. I could have underestimated his him being able to play ahead mentally. He does an amazing job of that. And he's jumping routes. There was a play, and I think we highlighted on the film session from the Chiefs game. You had a dig route. I mean, the way he broke on the dig and undercut the route, he's doing these things consistently. And that is crazy. So I definitely underestimated his ability to really be that heady football player. And you kind of see it like Richard Sherman, right? Remember, Richard Sherman was a, 6th-round pick by the Seattle Seahawks. And why? Well, he's not the fastest guy. He's tall, long. You typically have some of these longer movements. But when you're able to play ahead, man, it's not going to matter. You can overcome some of your shortcomings, which is with Hufanga, might be that straight line speed. It doesn't matter because he plays so fast. He's always a step ahead. And he's consistently in places to make plays on the ball. He's always going to be right there, always. That's just going to be what he does for his career. Now, I do see some of the people in the chat. He misses too many tackles. I think when you play 100 miles an hour, you're liable to come in a little reckless and miss some tackles at times. So we'll see if the missed tackles continue. But I do know when you play as fast as Hufanga does, you might miss one. There was one I saw him miss in the open field on a running back. It was on like the right sideline. They were going, I don't know how I was watching the stands, whatever. But yeah, early in the game, He missed one on the running back. All right. Rams had, 17, 18 play scoring drive. I think that was the second drive of the game. And it was cool to see how hard the 49ers defense fought. There were multiple penalties on that drive that they called on the 49ers defensive backs in the end zone. But man, that defense, like, they were fighting. And they made them work. I don't know how many plays they had inside the 10, but 49ers defense made them work. Ultimately, it didn't matter because the Rams scored a touchdown. But it was good to see the 49ers like play so hard there. I talked about Hufanga playing a step ahead. Another guy who's playing a step ahead is Christian McCaffrey. There was one play. He caught a ball in the flats, right? He ran like this little out route. And for some people, the game kind of moves in slow motion. There was this play that Greg Pinelli sent to me from, it was Josh Allen, not this week, it was like last week or something like that, where he snaps the ball and he just sees something right away and he's telling his guy, he's pointing to his tight end, go this way, right? Like, if you see it, it's like, how slow does the game have to be moving for a player, especially a quarterback, that right away he sees it and points to the guy, run this way. Now, his guy didn't do it. His guy wasn't on the same page as him there, and he still threw this amazing layered throw for a touchdown. I'm like, how slow does the game have to be moving for a guy to just be that far ahead of everybody else? And Christian McCaffrey, there was this one play where he ran this out, and I'd assume he knew what he was going to do, like just playing a step ahead of everybody else. He knew what he wanted to do before he even caught the ball. And he catches it, and as soon as he catches it, he puts like that right foot in the ground and then knifes upfield the other direction and just loses the defender. And I remember seeing it live, and I saw it when I watched the replay. I'm like, man, talk about being a step ahead of everybody else. And I think that's part of the reason why Christian McCaffrey had such a special game. Such a special game. Just playing. TJ Hawkinson got traded to Minnesota? That's crazy. All right. But playing a step ahead, and I thought Christian McCaffrey, that was one thing that I highlighted. I also put on here Il McGlinchey. He got beat around the edge. Now, was McGlinchey getting beat consistently? I don't know. But I know he got dogged by, Leonard Floyd maybe, around the edge. I'm just like, oh, man, that was bad, right? And it stands out. The tough thing about offensive line is when you do have a bad rep, it sticks out. Like, we all see it. You can't hide it. You can't hide it. Maybe in the interior, you kind of can. You can't on the outside. All right. Another thing I wanted to note real quick was Brandon Ayuk's emergence. All right, 3 straight games over 80 yards. This game, 6 targets, 6 catches. Thought that was great. And I talked early on about, a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago, I'm like, man, I want to see him be more consistent, beat man coverage, free yourself up, do those things. And he's doing it. He's doing it. And he's continuing to take that next step. And some guys, and again, he's had some early, quote unquote, success. I don't know if he's had that like big, like the just 130-yard game, 120-yard game, 150-yard game. He hasn't had those type of games. So he hasn't had that like big breakout game yet. But just in the sense of continuing to get better. And we saw this early on with Devontae Adams. I know we look at Devontae Adams and what he is now. He wasn't that like the first 3 years in Green Bay, but continued to work, got on the same page with his quarterback, started to be better and better, right? It took time. And I think what we're seeing right now with Ayuk is he's just continuing to progress, doing some of those things. Beat man, starting to get a little better after the catch. And again, we saw the great dynamic run after catch on the screen against Philadelphia his rookie year where he jumped over a guy. And it was like, man, that was a like special play, right? You see special ability. I don't think we've seen that. On a scale of 1 to 10 run after catch, that play was probably like a 10, right? Where you move, bounce off a guy, run, jump over a guy, hurdle into the end zone. Special play, that's 10 out of 10, right? We haven't seen that level of him after the catch yet. And I'm still waiting to see just kind of that next step there. And again, this is just me challenging him as a pure, wide receiver one, what you want from your wide receiver one. And it's like, all right, it's like, okay, he's checking off boxes. And it's like checking off boxes, getting better at this, getting better at that. Now the next step to me is, all right, we're freeing ourselves from man coverage. Now it's the big time run after catch. The big time where I'm catching the ball, I'm making guys miss, I'm running off for 60-yard touchdowns. Stuff like that, right? Like just the big time. So when we start saying wide receiver one, it's like, man, he's doing these special things where he's creating the big explosive plays. And we saw that year one. Haven't quite seen, again, to that extent, but to me, that's the next thing. So terrific receiver. I think right now, and I see Ayuk as wide receiver one. Right now, I see more really good wide receiver two, as opposed to pure wide receiver one, like where it's just like wide receiver one. I don't know if I go that far yet, but he's definitely getting there. For him, in my head, and just the way my mind works, it may be, Croc, you wrong. All right, whatever. Improve on contested catch opportunities, and then the run after catch, right? So those are the kind of the next things that I want to see. We see those things, and yeah, we are talking about wide receiver one, but contested catch, get better at that. Run after catch, be more dynamic. But he's continuing to get better each time I feel like he steps on the field. And I think Kyle Shanahan will probably tell you the same thing. All right, Ramsey dropped interception. At the game, you kind of see things like, and it kind of like flashes, and I'm watching it, and I just see a ball hit Ramsey in the hands. And I'm like, damn, like, Jimmy, you just try to throw it right to him? And I watched the game. All right, I watched the game again, and it was very interesting, something I noticed on that play. Now, please don't attack me. Don't say, Croc, you are being a Jimmy Garoppolo apologist. All right. But what I did see on that play was it looked like Ramsey was coming from depth. Ramsey is like post a blitz. It looked like maybe his, and we'll talk about this with Greg Pinelli, but it looked like Ramsey's post a blitz. His guy tells him like, hey, fool, what you doing? You need to blitz. He comes from depth, right? And he comes from depth, and I think as he's blitzing, he looks at Jimmy and he's like, you're about to throw the ball? And he just stops. He just stopped. Like, he stopped his blitz in the middle of the play, stood there kind of in the window, and Jimmy, I don't know if Jimmy was anticipating him going to continue on his blitz, but Jimmy, I think he thought he was going to be able to throw it over him because he's going to keep coming, and it just stopped. Like, he literally was blitzing Jimmy and stopped in the middle of his blitz and jumped up, and that's why it kind of looked crazy. All right, but that was a play that just kind of, and we'll probably break it down later with Greg Pinelli. I want to see what he thought, but please don't call me a Jimmy apologist. I'm not. I mean, he still threw it, hit him in the hands. I was just, just kind of how it played out. Ray McCloud, special teams, great. Late in play, touchdown to Christian McCaffrey. Oh, so Jimmy Garoppolo, I've been wanting to see Jimmy Garoppolo, like, just make a fucking play, right? Like, make a play, Jimmy G. And when people start talking about, like, the best quarterbacks in the league, to me, and I think Greg has said this as well, I don't think it's as drastic of a gap as people think. It's really the ability to make a few more plays than the next guy. Like, that is the difference between the great quarterbacks in this league, the average quarterbacks, and then obviously you have your trash quarterbacks. But the thing from Jimmy G, I think he makes a lot of plays that are there to be made, etc. But it's like, everything's not always going to be perfect, bro. Make a fucking play. And I thought on the touchdown to Christian McCaffrey, he slid up in the pocket, rolled out to his right, threw a nice layered throw to Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey climbs the ladder, scores a touchdown. But those are the things that I want to see. So that was cool. That was really good. I have no gripes with Jimmy Garoppolo on how he played. I thought he did a terrific job. All right. And then one more thing I wanted to say real quick was Oren Burks. He did get caught on the touchdown to, what's my guy's name? The touchdown to Cooper Kupp. All right. Where he had to carry Cooper Kupp and he just couldn't do it. And I'm like, how the hell does Oren Burks keep getting caught up on Cooper Kupp? Now, he did have a nice pass breakup on Cooper Kupp early in the game where, like, they threw it to me, boom, punched that hole out. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. All right. But I'm like, man, the 49ers, they kind of get caught in this like base defense, and then not as much this game because you had Jimmy Ward. But can we run like more big nickel, or not even big nickel? They did run a lot of big nickel, and we say big nickel because you have Ward on the field. Can they run more dime? When you see a team that's like in 11 personnel and you just know they're not running the ball, like they can't run. Let's run some dime. Let's get some more DBs on the field there. To where if a guy gets caught having to run vertically with Cooper Kupp, can it be another defensive back and not a linebacker? Just a question. All right, but Oren Burks, I thought outside of the touchdown, he had the nice pass breakup, and there were another few plays where I'm like, okay, nice play, Burks. Okay, nice play, Burks. Okay, nice play, Burks. Nobody's talking about it, but good job, Oren Burks. All right, here we go, y'all. I done talked enough. Y'all go ahead, come on live. I do got to get to some super chats. There's a link right there. All right, got another 20 minutes here. Shout out to Almighty Juju. Good morning, Croc. How your morning going? The morning is good. I had a nice little run this morning. Everything's going good so far. Got to clean my house. Like, my mother-in-law was here. She was watching my daughter while my wife and I were in LA for the weekend, and house got a little kind of crazy or whatever. But we're gonna get the house cleaned up. But aside from that, everything's good. Got a nice little workout this morning, or run in. I will get a workout in a little bit. All right, here we go. We pulled the same play with Debo throwing for a touchdown. Rams don't learn. Yeah, they did it. I thought they did a really good job, man, of attacking some things where it's like, man, we keep getting Christian McCaffrey the ball. Let's see if we can get them to bite. And they threw it backwards to him. As soon as I threw it backwards, I said, he's throwing this ball. And he threw it. Touchdown. Let's go. Appreciate the contributions, guys. All right, here we go. I'm bringing on two of my guys at one time. All right, here we go. We got, I guess I could do it like this. Medic Mike and Gammon. There we go.
All right.
There we go.
What's happening, big dog?
Good morning.
Hey, what's going on?
Are we gonna get on Greg about his Jimmy G? First, Medic Mike, how do you think the conversation is gonna go this evening with Greg Pinelli about Jimmy Garoppolo?
It's gonna be fire. He's gonna be like, all those things you said he couldn't do. Look at this right here. Look at this out route to Ayuk. Look at this throw. Oh, Greg gonna be on fire. I'm looking forward to it. But
he's pumped up. He wanted to go on right then. Like after the game, he wanted to go on. Like, all right, chill, man, chill. I gotta, all right, ease up, doggy, ease up.
But he's got to know, because I will say that's probably one of the most complete games I've ever seen Jimmy play. He played really well. He played really, really well. That's also 1 week. Because Greg got to know, as hard as he comes, if Jimmy reverts back, the next game they play, they're going to be right back on his head.
I think his thoughts might be he doesn't think that he has played bad over the last couple of weeks. So I think he would say, I think he has played well the previous couple of weeks. Maybe not well enough to beat Kansas City Chiefs, be that guy. But he had played well, and then this was like one of his better games. So if you kind of look at it from that standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, last couple of weeks really good. Weird game against the Falcons.
Yeah, that's what's interesting was there was when I was watching that and everyone's kind of calling you and a Jimmy Garoppolo apologist. I even seen on Twitter, some people were like going like, oh, I'm going to unsub from Locked On 49ers Croc. I'm so upset with you. I'm like, where is this all coming from? But I mean, you look at it and what Greg was saying as far as Jimmy Garoppolo, not to, be a white knight for Greg Pinelli, because he's a grown man and he can defend himself. But what was interesting was that like a day or two, maybe less than 24 hours later, after you and Greg Pinelli had that same kind of, you went over his game film, a certain Hall of Fame quarterback, Kurt Warner, did the same thing. And the words were actually pretty similar. And then in this game that you watched, right, all of a sudden you see Ross Dwelly catch that big booming deep pass that he dropped the game prior or previous. And that was the thing that was kind of interesting, was that he has been making these deep passes, but for a reason, a lot of the 49ers receivers weren't catching it. You see Higbee on the Rams drop that big pass. That could have been a big momentum change for the Rams, but they dropped it. Whereas our tight end caught it and made that big catch. And then I think to what you said, Medic Mike, you said one game, right? One game, and we have these big sweeping in our minds, these narratives that we kind of change or shape. Right, it's just one game against a team that we really we feel like we kind of have their number, just like the Seahawks had our number. Everyone's trying to throw this in Croc's face, like, Croc, you were so wrong about CMC. And in my mind, I'm going like, but isn't this just one game? And he had a really good game against the Rams as a member of the Panthers. What if he doesn't have as great of a game? I thought it was unusual that that Jimmy Garoppolo, one of the things that I got on Jimmy Garoppolo for was that he doesn't make those check down passes to his running backs that are in the flat. That was one thing that I thought Trey Lance did exceptionally better as far as on those reads, is making those check down passes to his running backs in the flats. Just the only problem with Trey Lance was that he wasn't accurate enough to complete it, to get it into the ball carrier's hands, and he would just kind of overthrow. But just to kind of go over like a quick recap, I think some of the things that have been kind of lost in this win were, number one, no injuries. So us not having any injuries, we're going into a bye week. So that means that just makes our recovery time for our team just that much better. Number two, a big storyline going into this week was, can the 49ers overcome the loss of Debo? And I wasn't too sure, but apparently we did. And I thought a bigger storyline than overcoming the loss of Debo was, could we overcome the loss of Kyle Juszczyk? I think Kyle Juszczyk is just kind of an undersung hero. He's really the big proponent that makes this offensive engine work as far as the blocks, his timely catches, everything like that. I thought that the tight end and running back room really, really stepped up their game. And another thing too, I was really curious about was BA has a lot of swagger to him. He really, really does. And it showed up when he had a better performance than Kupp. I'm still waiting for the 49ers offensively, defensively, and special teams to have a complete game. I think this was one of their better games, but I didn't feel like it was a full 4-quarter game. What do you think about that, Medic Mike?
The injuries is huge. That we made it out healthy from this game is that's big time. One of the things that I was really happy to see, and I think can translate moving forward, we made halftime adjustments finally. Yeah. Well, effective ones, I should say.
Yeah.
Not only that, you saw, and these were points I brought up last week on why Kyle Shanahan needed to look in the mirror. He also wasn't predictable. You saw play action on first down. You saw the dual running back formation. I mean, you saw that out the gate. You saw play action passes on first down. You saw all of that. And then you saw the Rams killing us with the screen. D'Amico made a halftime adjustment. They shut that down. We shut them out the second half. They didn't score any points. And then you saw Kyle finally make some adjustments, and we actually got on the board. We started putting some touchdowns on the board. So, I mean, I think Kyle, I don't want to say found his rhythm, but he was in his bag. He was in his bag that game.
But here's my question, Mike. Was Kyle in his bag because the plays were just so much different, or was it just the execution better? Because that, to me, that's been the biggest issue, right? Like, there have been plays out there to be made, and they weren't being made. So I was putting it on Kyle just in the sense of, Kyle, this is your baby. Like, this, you're the one that's coaching these guys up. So if they're not connecting on certain things in games, well, ultimately that comes back on you, right?
So
but I don't think it was just like this drastic difference in the sense of his play call. I actually thought it's just the execution, especially in the second half, but the execution was just so much better. And then, boom, you have this much better offensive explosion, even more so than the Panthers game, right, where they scored, the offense didn't score 37, but the 49ers scored 37 points. And you look at 37, and it's like, oh, Kyle must have been doing. No, like, I thought this was much better execution from the offense, really the best execution they've had for this entire season. So I think it was more so about that than just, oh, Kyle was in his bag. I've seen other times where he's in his bag, and it's just like, well, they missed this throw, or this ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like, think about the Bears game week 1.
Right.
And it's like, they only scored 10 points, whatever. But you look at it, the execution lacked. The first drive of the game, Kyle went in his bag, boom, play the Ayuk. And then the play to Debo. They're stretching him out. Then you get the play action, boom. Trey Lance hits, I think it was Ayuk on a deep over route. And it's like, man, he's cooking, then fumble inside the 5. Right? So now that's poor execution. And
Right.
then he comes back. He dials at the tight end leak play for Trey Lance. He, overshoots the tight end. But it's there. But the execution was poor. So I think in this game, it was more so about offensively, Kyle finally got his guys to execute. And that's what I've been putting on him more than anything else.
So I think it's a combination of both, which is why you saw the blowout. And for instance, the Dwelly pass, where was the next defender? Like 20 yards away from him? He dialed up.
So I think it was. So this is what it looked like to me, and I couldn't tell when I watched it live, but I went back and watched it just now. And even then, I watched it. It wasn't all 22, but it looked like they had a cover 3 on, and they had a cover 3. The nickel was kind of deep. The corner was a little deep, and both guys bit on an out route. So it wasn't even so much like, oh man, great play call by Kyle, which people would say like, oh man, he schemed them open. No, Kyle didn't scheme him open. He just ran straight up the field. Everybody bit on this short route. I don't know why the deep third corner was biting up. Like, bro, you're responsible for that vert in your zone. All right, in your quarter or your
So
third.
why I think the play calling did make a difference. I remember we had this conversation and you were like, Kyle doesn't take the easy stuff. You see Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, he looks at him, corner's playing 8 yards off, he throws it to him, let him get 5-6 yards. The easy stuff. I remember a speed out BA ran, I think it was in the maybe second or third quarter, where corner's way out, way far off. He just runs easy money. I think it went for 9 yards. Corner was off from another play. He throws him a screen. McCaffrey had 8 catches. We haven't seen the quarterback throwing to the running backs. So I think it was a combination of you saw guys execute, but you saw different things come into play. You saw the running backs catching the ball. You saw the easy money getting there. Like before, when you watch the offense, it was like pulling teeth. Everything was so difficult, so difficult to come by.
Yes.
This game, I saw a lot of, boom, right there. Boom, right there. When he had the 2-read play where he had George Kittle go up the seam, and then you had your running back flare out, and then the linebacker had to make a decision. Then Jimmy's boom, Kittle, 20 yards.
Yeah,
we have not seen that. Yeah, we have not seen that all year. And so I think it was a combination of Kyle finding his rhythm, not being predictable. I mean, there's other times where it's first, second down. I'm like, this play's coming. This formation, this toss counter. And I can call the play. This game wasn't like that. You saw different plays and you saw them actually getting that easy money. So I think when you have the execution and the play calling, because I did think he called a good game against the Bears when I rewatched it, but the execution was horrific. This game, you got both, and we, blew the Rams out the water.
I think Medic Mike made some really, really strong points, and I've heard him kind of echo it in a couple times, but I'm going to try and just kind of say it a little bit more in all caps and bold and underline it. But the 49ers were less predictable in their early downs. Also, too, Kyle was calling more kind of gimme plays as well. So those goes hand in hand. When you call easy gimme plays, it's easier for the offense to execute. It's easier for the players on the field to get in rhythm, for the play caller to get in rhythm. Also, too, with those gimme calls, another thing that I noticed, too, that isn't getting talked about that much either, is that we didn't hurt ourselves that much. We weren't putting ourselves in 1st and 15, 3rd and 15, with the offsides, with the penalties. We were a lot more disciplined because that goes hand in hand with making those easier calls, those easier reads, those easier calls. So yeah, this is what happens when you don't shoot yourself in the foot. There were so many times it didn't matter who was quarterbacking, Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo. All of a sudden I'd see 3rd and 7 turn into 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15 real quick, just from some simple, sloppy kind of, penalization in plays. So that was nice that the 49ers weren't putting themselves immediately into a hole to where then it did make some of the play calling that Kyle Shanahan would do predictable. Yeah,
I believe it was 3 penalties on the game for 8 yards. And 2 of those came inside like the 3-yard line on that one touchdown drive. So I'm going to get you guys off and get the next callers on, but man, I appreciate y'all coming on.
All right.
Thanks for having us, Croc. Like and subscribe, everybody.
Yeah, man. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. All right. Hold on. I'm about to add you back, Miguel. 1 second. Let me get to some of these questions here. Croc, big take here. Better overall receiver, BA or Debo? I'd say Debo. Now, listen, when we say overall receiver, I think everybody has in their head that a receiver has to be like a specific way, right? Like it's like got to be a great route runner, great separator, all that. At the end of the day, are you going to make plays? And I think Debo, you put the ball in his hands, he's going to make plays that just 90% of the receivers in the league just can't do. So from that standpoint, it's just he's a receiver. I'm getting the ball in his hands. He's making special plays happen. It's like you gotta go. You gotta go with Debo. Now, that's not to say that Ayuk isn't a terrific receiver. And again, continuing to get better and better and better. I'm seeing a lot of good things from Ayuk, but overall receiver, I mean, if I can just throw a slant and this dude take it 60 yards, if I could throw a screen and this dude take it 80 yards to the crib, we're not getting that yet from Ayuk. Not to say he can't, but we haven't seen like that level of, you know what I'm saying? What Debo brings. So, great receiver in Brandon Ayuk. I like where he's headed. But Debo, it's just get the ball in his hands, and he's like so special. Execution was clearly better. Also, Christian McCaffrey creates a new dynamic with the check down now being an automatic first down. I think that's a big part of it, right? We talk about the execution, things looking better, offense clicking, and it might just be easier when you just have this elite running back in the backfield. And again, my thoughts on the Christian McCaffrey trade were not that he can't be someone that is a legit weapon for the 49ers. It was, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like, how much are you going to utilize him? And how much are you going to do things differently than what you've done in the past to make it worth it? And I think if this game against the Rams was any indication of how they're going to be utilizing him throughout this season, damn good trade. Great trade. And it does help with your offense being, more dynamic and stuff like that. That was a great job. Here's the last one here. Why were the Lambs only doing screens? If I had to guess, and I came on here talking about it, if I had to guess why they did so many screens, all right, the 49ers sacked Matthew Stafford 7 times in the last meeting, in the first game. All right, 7 times sacked in the first game. So, you want to slow up the pass rush, 49ers are blitzing a ton. How do you counter that? Just throw some screens. So I think they did a lot of that early and often. 49ers obviously did a great job of adjusting to something. I don't know if it's just necessarily the quick pass, whatever the 49ers did in the second half, whatever adjustments they made, it worked. I don't really talk a whole lot scheme, so I don't want to say what the 49ers did or didn't do different or whatever, but I just know overall, whatever they did, the results of it were drastically different. They did an amazing job. All right, here we go. Miguel.
What's going on, Croc?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm doing wonderful. That win on Sunday was incredible. And it wasn't just because we won. It was how we won, right? As everybody's already talked about, there was a complete transformation from the first half to the second. Everybody made the necessary adjustments. Kyle Shanahan, D'Amico Ryan, the players. You just talked about the screen. And it was evident, like you said. The first game, we sacked them 7 times. So they said, well, we got to eliminate this pass rush. They getting to me. So we got to do something about that. And you notice they still tried to utilize that, but instead of just pinning back their ears and going after the quarterback, they felt. You play football, so you gotta read the signs. You gotta pay attention to what's being presented to you. If they're kind of just letting you go, something's up, right? And we weren't expecting it. It was horrific. That first half, how they was just driving, it was horrific. I mean, it just looked like we were just not very attentive to what they were trying to do. And they were smart. McVay, smart. That was smart coaching. And ultimately he ended up getting out coached.
Right. And that's what we talk about, the adjustments that we've been wanting to see from the 49ers, right? Everybody's talking about second half adjustments. We made a big deal out of the second half points, especially like third quarter, fourth quarter. 49ers, they just have not been doing it. offensively, getting the points. And this game, not only did they adjust and do a great job defensively, but also offensively. And you saw the points, I mean, in abundance. What 49ers scored, 31 points, I believe?
1 point.
And
All
21 of those were in the second half. So we're talking about not even getting field goals.
No defense scored. Had one special teams field goal. The rest of that is all offense. Offensive line protecting Jimmy in that second half. I mean, they sacked him, twice in the first half? And was getting to him and putting pressure on him. Offensive line stepped up. Even the horrible, awesome Mike McGlinchey. Mike is just he's a 50-50 coin. Like I swear, I don't see what they see in him, but I'm not there. So
Right.
because he gave up the 2 sacks, if I'm correct.
I know he gave up 1 for sure, and I know Leonard Floyd had a couple of sacks. So I don't know. Again, I'd have to go back and look at the second one, but I know the first one for sure that was on McGlinchey.
That was on him. And be honest with you, he hasn't really played great all season. I mean, it is what it is. He has his moments. It's a lot of pressure. It is a lot of pressure, and I know that they pick on him because they realize he is the weaker link of the 2 ends. But let's give out some trophies, right?
Let's do it.
Let's give out some trophies. Kyle Shanahan. I don't believe Kyle Shanahan was in his bag. This is what the play calling and everything is what we've seen all along. The execution, like you said, is the most vital aspect of this scenario, of this situation. I don't remember. We didn't have very many drop passes, if any. Jimmy did some bonehead things, but I mean, we don't know the whole concept. Just like Jimmy said in his press conference, me and Kittle got to get on the same page. Apparently, he was thinking one thing, Kittle was thinking another, and so he was doing thinking we're on the same page. But it's gonna happen. I mean, look at the greats. We got how many greats do we have? Established, been in the league, and have asserted themselves as top tier quarterbacks. We got Russell Wilson. He's looking to me like his receivers, DK Metcalf and Andrew Lockett, made him better than what he is. Anybody can disagree, and they can have their own opinions. Just for me, I'm saying, look at what Seattle's doing without him, and look what he's doing without them. So, maybe he wasn't as good as we thought he was.
Yeah.
And he had just great receivers that made him look great. They have great receivers. Gino was pretty much considered a wash all these years. He was a good backup and everything, but now he's a starting quarterback, and they are 5-3, 5-2, whatever it is.
They're cooking right now. Yeah.
They're cooking with Gino, but they're not cooking with Gino. They're cooking with DK Metcalf and Andrew Lockett. Okay, so let's be honest about that. Learning a new system, okay, whatever. You can give every justification for why he's not performing on that level, but whatever. Then you got the quarterback in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. Not looking all that great. Then you got the GOAT, greatest of all time, right? Over there in Tampa Bay. What's his name? I forget. Kind of insignificant at this point. Tom Brady. Oh yeah, okay, there it is. But he's not looking like elite. Okay, yeah, he's up in age. Got it. But he came back like he was still the GOAT. And he's an old GOAT now, so he can't do like that. But okay, so they've thrown interceptions. They've done boneheaded things. They haven't been all that productive. Jimmy's a good quarterback. Jimmy can be a great quarterback. Now that you've added Christian McCaffrey, where you can clearly see that Kyle Shanahan trust his vision and his capability and his abilities to do things that he didn't trust his other running backs to do. We haven't seen Kyle doing screens to running backs. We haven't seen him really. But I mean, what Christian McCaffrey brings is an elite quarterback. I mean, elite running back abilities that we haven't had. And so adding him was a significant morale booster, skill booster. Come on, dude, look at what we got. I mean, what team can say, we need to go back to the old saying, who got it better than us? Nobody. There's nobody who has it better than us. Top 3 tight end. Top 3 wide receiver in Debo, Kittle. We got McCaffrey. Top 3. I'm gonna just keep them in there. I ain't gonna say number 1, number 2, but top 3, top 5 running back. Top 3, top 5 fullback. All pro offensive lineman. He didn't really play that good last game against Kansas City. He didn't. He gave up the sack in the end zone for the safety. That's not everybody. I can't stand when we're talking about the ultimate team sport and then try to say, well, Jimmy's supposed to do this and Jimmy's supposed to do that and Jimmy's supposed to do this. Well, what about the other people that are supposed to do what they're supposed to do? We can't always put the blame on one person. It's a collective effort all the way around. Everybody got to do what everybody got to do. And if everybody's not doing it, you're not good. You can't just say, well, it was this person. It was Kyle. It was Jimmy. There was plenty of times in that Kansas City game where Brandon Ayuk blew a block. Debo blew a block. There was enough. If you really watch the game and you're really attentive, we like to harp on one player. We like to harp on, but we just saw Jimmy 21 of 25, almost 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, he almost threw 2 picks, but we don't really know all the inside aspects of how and why that happened. But other than that, man, it was just I am very pleased in what I saw. This was probably the best total performance on all 3 phases of the game. Ray McLeod on those kickoffs. Come on,
nah, he did his thing. But Miguel, I'm gonna have to get you off and get to the next 2 callers, man. But I appreciate you calling in.
For sure, man. I appreciate you. Look, I got some little things going on. I'm gonna get up with you, and try to collab with you a little bit.
Oh yeah, you already know it's good. Yeah, just hit me
and move forward, man. All right, man. Well, y'all have a wonderful day. I appreciate you letting me on, man. Love it. Love the show. Love you guys. Let's do it, Nina.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Shout out to my guy Miguel. Real quick, let me get to some of these. I got a super chat here from Gammon, and he says, first and only game this season to score 30-plus points. And I think that, and I get it, again, Christian McCaffrey and how much that helps. I know it helps a ton, but I still feel like that's like, you got, you got the offensive guru there. You got to get more than 30 points. But, hey, beggars can't be choosers. So let's do it again. Let's keep it going. Cap space is imaginary. They can work it out. The cap space is not imaginary, but you just kind of pick and choose who you want to prioritize. So you can go out and add a bunch of high-priced guys, and people are going to be like, man, how you get that? But you done lost a lot of either role players or other guys like that. So there are always, there's pretty much just give and take. So yeah, the cap space, you hear, it's a myth. It's imaginary. It is not. But, hey, do you want to keep DeForest Buckner, or do you want to keep Eric Armstead, Jimmy Ward, and have a first-round pick? You know what I'm saying? But you made that choice based on trying to work the salary cap, not so much that it's just some imaginary thing. Now, you could keep DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Jimmy Ward, but then you might lose out on a bunch of these other guys, or that might make it harder to, sign Trent Williams to the highest paid salary of any tackle. Like, so it's not imaginary, but you can make it work however you want to make it work. But you just got to be prepared to lose some guys. And that was my thing with the Christian McCaffrey trade. It wasn't so much, I think people think I don't like the player. I mean, I love Christian McCaffrey. What? It's, all right, how good does he have to be to overcome some of the players that you potentially lose? You keep him for sure. And there will be a jump in the salary cap, or cap space. But you're gonna likely lose a couple players, and that's fine. Just be good enough to overcome that, and it's not gonna matter. But it's not a myth though. Croc, you think they are able to keep Brandon Ayuk and Debo moving forward? See, this is a great question, because yes, they can. Like, if they want to keep Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel, they can. But you're just going to lose someone else. So, you start talking about paying all these players, right? Like, you can't pay everybody. So you're already paying Trent Williams. You're paying Christian McCaffrey over the next year and the year after that, $12+ million each of those years. Paying Trent Williams, McCaffrey. You're paying Debo Samuel a ton of money, around $20 million a year or whatever it is. You're going to lose some players. You're going to lose some players. But you can do it. You can do it. All right, here we go. Ryan, what's good, man? How you doing?
What's cracking, my guy? What's up, man?
Oh, chilling, man. Chilling. How you doing this morning?
Hey, terrific Tuesdays, man. I'm feeling fine, man. I can't complain.
Terrific Tuesday. I like that.
Yes, sir. Hey, man, I want to give a shout out to the Faithful. I think they deserve the #1 notch on this victory, man. It was rocking. You could hear it like throughout the announcers, man. And I think early on, people thought like, okay, the Rams are doing something. But I think the fans just took over Levi Stadium. I think this is a psychological game that we saw the years and years of beating the brakes off the Lambs has really taken effect to their mental. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I would tell people, we can sit here. It was a great game. It was awesome. It was beautiful. We beat the Rams. And like Levi's, like this is our Levi Stadium. This is our Airbnb. You know what I'm saying? We beat them at the Airbnb, you know what I'm saying, down there at SoFi. But we got to realize that, man, don't keep your expectations too high because we beat the Rams. You know, let's keep it calm. Let's keep it cool. Let's go against a team that may not be as in disarray like the Rams were. And let's continue to build on this. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things I just want to caution people, man. Just like, hey, great game.
Hey, real quick, talking about the fans, man, and being there, it was rocking. And they kept, first of all, Rams do some corny stuff. The Ramily thing, that was pretty corny. But there was one thing that was new. And I went to the game week 18 at SoFi Stadium last season, right? When the 49ers came back, won in overtime. They didn't do this then, but they definitely do it now. It was called Rampede. I'm like, Rampede? What is that? So they be like, come on, everybody, let's Rampede. And it's like everybody just like stomping their legs. Yeah. It's like, dude, there's 90% 49er fans in here. Like, what are you doing? But and then when they say whose house, 49ers fans got to figure out how to do something. So when the Rams announcer guy says, whose house? And then, of course, you can post say Rams house, but you don't really hear it. Just everybody gets loud. I'm like, well, it's only loud when they do that because it's 90% 49er fans saying our house, right? Like, our house, but you can't really tell. It just gets really loud. And I think 49er fans, when the Rams announcer guy says whose house and 49ers in the house like that, everybody just boo. Boo, just hell it out. Like, that's what they need to do. And that will be a distinct difference between whatever everybody's saying. Just boo, and you'll know whose house it is. 90% 49er fans in there. But anyways, go ahead.
What's up with, like, did you notice how we always have this issue with the shot clock or the play clock? It seems like, man, we be, like, scrambling sometimes where we be waiting there. I'm like, bro, what's going on? Why we be moving so methodical when it comes to like getting the play call in and getting huddled up and breaking out the huddle and getting lined up? And we were playing at the SoFi, which was predominantly most of the Niners fans, but I do believe at a team that plays a little bit better, that could be an issue when it comes to us just making sure we be on, have a rhythm and not allowing that shot clock to get to us, man. What you think about that?
The 49ers don't play fast ever. And I was watching I've talked about it on here. I would like to see just some more up-tempo at different times. And maybe that helps with clock management. But, man, 49ers play so slow. If I had to guess, and I don't know, but if I had to guess, I would say the 49ers have probably top 3 slowest pace offensively in the league. Yeah. And I'm watching the Browns last night. And the Browns, boom, they throw a ball, get a 9-yard gain. You got Jacoby Brissett on the ball. Let's go. And it's like they're going quick. And boom, they run the ball, they get a first down. Yeah. Then they go. And it's like you can mix it up sometimes. Not saying, and again, the Browns are a team. They run the ball. They rely on their run game. Yeah. The 49ers do too. But you can incorporate some, I don't even want to say hurry up offense, but some more up-tempo offense. Now, maybe Kyle's thinking, look, we're already struggling with these pre-snap penalties, et cetera. So, no, we just want to slow it down, make sure everybody's good. But I think the tempo, it could help. And it simplifies the defense. It keeps some of their players on the field, that might be tired. Man, I would love to see the 49ers do a little bit more up-tempo stuff. Just hearing it, just mix it in. I ain't saying it's got to be every down, every play, every drive, but just mix it in here and there, some tempo.
Yeah, especially when we know whenever we get to the lineup, we motion too. So like we already getting there, we lining up. It's like 5 seconds left to go. We got a motion to the slot. We got a motion to running back, and I'm like, bro, we got to get a penalty, man. And you kind of can tell. You can see them like slowly, continuously, always on that thin line of like, man, we got to make sure it's perfect. And a lot of other callers say we executed very well, which is good, but sometimes, like I said, that line is very tight, though. Got to make sure we don't, like I said, with a little bit of up-tempo from here and there, every now and again will help us out a little bit, though.
Yeah. All right, but Ryan, I'm going to get to the next caller because I got to get out of here and record Locked On 49ers, man, but I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Last caller. My guy, Damon. Damon, good morning, man.
How's it going, Croc? Good morning, man. I'm doing really good now. So
I do got real quick. I got a question. We had a question about players that you potentially might lose and whatnot. Oh, man, I forgot to tell Ryan to address this. Somebody said he got dropped the beer tutorial. All right, we'll get Ryan back on at some point and talk about what he does. But I did have a question about the cap and kind of losing players. Was I right on that, or was it like, nah, Croc, like, it is a myth, and there isn't going to be any give and take. You just get as many players as you want.
It's not so much that it's a myth. It's definitely not a myth. It's a hard cap. But there's unseen money, I think is a better way to put it, right? For instance, this year, the 49ers have $19 million in dead cap, right? They're still paying Weston Richburg. They're paying Nate Sudfeld. They're paying D Ford, right? They're paying these players this year. D Ford, his cap goes up next year. Okay, so it's not a myth, okay, at all. It's about managing the amount of money. How do you want to spread the money out, and trying to basically, you're trying to guess which players will be the most valuable later on, and you're trying to match how much they make with how valuable they are to the team in future years. So every team projects their cap out 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. Okay, they have different scenarios, right? So right now, the 49ers have a plan for the next 5 years of their cap space. And they have a plan for the next 3 years of their cap space. And it's fluid, and they have built into that plan, okay, if we do this, and then we have to do that. And so you are exactly right as far as when we made the DeForest Buckner decision, that was not a decision to not keep DeForest Buckner. It was a decision to keep Eric Armstead and Jimmy Ward and 2 or 3 other small contributors, even special teams type guys, right? Guys that you may not have been able to sign because you're paying your defensive tackle over $20 million a year. Now, with that said, coming up the next 3 years, the cap almost doesn't matter. Specifically, it specifically benefits the 49ers in the way that for the next several years, the cap's going to continue to grow. So this year our total cap's like $208 million, right? Is the cap. The 49ers have like $204 million, I think, right now, $205 million. I did this research for you like a week and a half ago, so my numbers might not be perfect.
Right. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, next year, the cap for the 49ers, with all the players that are currently signed for next year, which is like 40 or something, it's high 30s, low 40s. It's a lot of players. It's $205 million. That's the expected cap for next year. That includes with some of the incentives and stuff like that. So incentives, we talked about how to change the salary cap as far as what the hit is with incentives. You can give guys certain types of incentives that lowers their salary cap, but then it hits the salary cap harder the next year, if that makes sense. Because the incentives that they do get are going to be a hit next year instead of this year. That's one of the ways that they manipulate the cap. Christian McCaffrey has almost no incentives on his deal. The last 3 years that he has, it's $11.8 million in base salary, $200,000 workout bonus. That's next year and the year after, 23, 24. And in 25, it's a $12 million base cap with a $200,000 workout bonus. His cap hit is $12 million, $12 million, and $12.2 million, respectively, over the next 3 years. That's with a cap going up almost $80 million over the next few years. It's not going to keep us from signing anybody we want. We're not going to have to take any kind of like, oh, we're going to lose Eric Armstead. No, we aren't. I initially thought we might. I was looking at it, I was like, you just had a $16 million running back. How are you going to pay Eric Armstead, whose salary cap is like $20 million next year? We can. We really can. So a lot of the people that are concerned about the cap space with Christian McCaffrey, it's a hurdle, but it's a very low hurdle. And it's not such a hindrance that's going to prevent us from signing anybody we really want to keep. It's not going to keep Bosa's contract from getting done. We are probably going to lose Jimmy Ward, but we were probably going to lose him anyway. I think he's getting older. He's had injuries. I don't think they were going to pay him $10 million again. And I think he wants to go out in the open market and get 8 or 9, which he will get from somebody, probably Dallas, unfortunately. So, like, we already know we're going to lose some guys. So we know that going into making a deal like this. Anyway, that's Christian McCaffrey's salary. Not much of a factor. It's a factor, but very low.
Gotcha.
So a couple things real quick. This is a great pod today. And I think Medic Mike and was that Gammon? Is that the other guy on with him?
Yeah.
Those guys are awesome. They really pay attention and they really get it. So I have a question for you. You mentioned on Locked On 49ers, shout out Locked On 49ers podcast. You had mentioned that in the locker room at halftime, it is the position coaches that are talking to you and making adjustments. It ain't Kyle Shanahan coming around and making adjustments to everybody, right? It's the position coaches.
Not to everybody, right? Like as a defensive back, like Kyle might say something, or your head coach might say something, but for about, hey, we got to execute, we got to do this better. You guys are playing like this, or however it's going. Your head coach will quickly address the team, but for the most part, you get with your position coach, maybe your coordinator if they want to change some things up, but it's not necessarily, is more likely not the head coach talking to you for 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. So the reason I bring this up, I did some research on Kyle Shanahan and his just some basic cursory stuff, because you really got me thinking about Kyle Shanahan and his effectiveness offensively as a head coach, stuff like that. I mean, you've pointed out some really important things as far, like, I think you're the only one asking why. Like, you're the guy. Why does this offense suck? Why do the Browns score more than you do? Like, and that's a really good point. Like, well, that's a no-brainer to me.
My big question is that because, and I know a lot of people, Jimmy G, but I see teams around the league that are still able to, and I don't think Jimmy sucks.
PJ Walker!
Right, you see PJ Walker, doing some things, and it's like, all right, well, if whoever the Panthers don't even have a head coach. So whoever their coordinator is or whatever, if he's able to get explosive plays out of PJ Walker or not even just explosive play, but they're able to put up points. What, they score 34 points?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if
something like that.
If you're able to score 34 points with PJ Walker, then I'd assume that Kyle Shanahan, being who he is and what his reputation is, he should be able to get more out of this offense than what he's gotten this year. That was my thing. Not saying that it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Jimmy Garoppolo might not be as good as some of these other quarterbacks. Not saying that it doesn't hurt to have a player injured and whatnot. Well, the Panthers are like, well, shoot, we got the other two quarterbacks. We don't got Baker. We don't got Sam Darnold. We're down to our third string quarterback, and we're still able to score 34 points. So my biggest question is, why are they able to do that and the 49ers haven't been able to do it? And they're getting their first game. They've had over 30 points from the offense this year. It's just a question, but go ahead.
Yeah. No, so I agree. I've always been somebody that defends Kyle Shanahan. I've always been on the Kyle Shanahan is awesome. You guys need to shut up about firing him bandwagon. And I'm slowly kind of getting one leg on the ground, getting off of that bandwagon because you really made me think, like, am I just giving him a pass because of his name or his reputation? And I'm not looking at him as hard as I do other people. And that's not how you get to the right answers. So anyway, some of the cursory information that I found. Kyle Shanahan, in each of his seasons in the 49ers, has scored less points per quarter as the game goes on. First quarter, more points. Second quarter, less points. Third quarter, less points. Fourth quarter, the least amount of points. Year after year. The only year where they scored more points in the fourth quarter than they did in any of the previous quarters was in 2020. They scored a total of 19 touchdowns in the fourth quarter in 2020. If you remember that season, we were chasing people and scoring points in garbage time a lot. In 2020, our whole team was hurt. So there is a trend as far as about scoring points as the game goes on. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. I didn't know. Okay. So the obvious answer is they score points early and then put the brakes on in the second half. That might be part of it. Like in 2019, there's a clear trend about points scored, right? My question, the reason I asked you that is I'm wondering how much of an impact Kyle Shanahan's assistants have on their inability to score in the second half. Because are the adjustments that need to be made, Kyle Shanahan is not over there talking to his guys on the sideline. The position coaches are. You see that on the game film from the couch at home. Kyle Shanahan in the locker room is probably not doing all that much, like you said, maybe a little here and there, but he's not spending a whole halftime with the offensive line.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, and I hear exactly what you're saying. But at the end of the day, when you're the head coach, you are the CEO.
Yeah, it's on you.
You are ultimately responsible for all of it, especially when you are a Kyle Shanahan who, regardless, like the offense is still your thing, right? Like he's the play caller. So maybe, defense and stuff like that, you could delegate, whatever. But offensively, he is so hands-on. This is not a New York Jets Robert Saleh situation, who Saleh has been a terrific coordinator for the 49ers. He goes over to New York Jets, and he delegates his defense. Well, is Ulbrich, that's former 49er, but it's Ulbrich who's the defensive coordinator. He's the one, that's hands-on with that. So if Kyle was like, well, I'm not the play caller, so yeah, it's on my offensive coordinator and these guys to make sure things. But like, no, Kyle, you're hands-on. So the execution, and I don't think it's bad play calling. Again, I want to make sure I make that clear. I don't think it's bad play calling. You're just not getting the results. So even if you're not getting the results, then that does fall back on you. And my biggest question is why? I do think maybe it's just adding Christian McCaffrey, but this game, they definitely took a huge step in the right direction. And you just hope that, okay, can we get a little bit more? Can we be more consistent with that? So that's kind of like my thoughts on that.
Okay, so I know you got to get going soon, so I'll try to make this as brief as possible. So I think you are, again, right on the money. I wonder, it's really just a question. I have no idea, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. Is it possible, one thing that Kyle Shanahan has shown is a clear trend in the ability to develop coaches. Is it possible that the growing pains in the offense early this season is Kyle Shanahan allowing his assistant coaches to do their job and not intervening, not going over and doing stuff, and it's taken them a while to do their job better? And now Kyle Shanahan is kind of feeling maybe the pressure a little bit. We can't keep losing. And he's kind of taking the reins a little. Said, okay, listen, I'm going to jump in here a little bit. There's a real possibility that what we saw this week was Kyle Shanahan kind of say, okay, enough's enough. I'm going to make sure that this happens.
Okay, so you're saying
I'm just curious.
He's been putting everything off, or you just do your job, and then
letting them develop.
The Rams, and we had kind of a down game against the Chiefs, and now I got to be more hands on with it. So we'll find out, right? So if the 49ers offense continues to be what we saw last game, then maybe that's a scenario where all right, maybe he was putting the stuff off on other guys, and now he's more hands on than that. But I would say
we're gonna find out
if that were the case. Then I'd be even more upset with Kyle Shanahan. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, so you just sitting back, letting the 49ers lose games because you want to try to prove a point. But I'm going to get you off, Damon, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Okay. Appreciate you, man.
All right. Shout out to my guy, Damon. There was a question here. Steve, why do we always have to send someone in motion? This is actually a great question. And the reason why is because every time you send somebody in motion, it changes somebody on the defensive side of the ball's responsibility. So, I remember getting to the NFL. I'm out there in the outside corner, and for most of my life, you play cornerback. It's like cover 1, cover 2, cover 3. Yeah, you're gonna play some 6 and whatever. But for the most part, it's a very simple job. Now, at the NFL level, every time somebody motions, like the strength can change. You have to count numbers to your side. So, if it's cover 3 and I have 2 to my side and then another guy motions over, now my responsibility changes as a corner. Now it depends on if it's a fire zone 3 or is it a sky 3, then that could change. And a lot of these things have to happen really quick in your mind, like the linebacker, the communication. There's a whole lot. So you see a lot of motions. One, it can kind of tip off what the defense is in. So there's that part. He could be trying to get more numbers to one side of the field. There's that. But also it definitely changes. It definitely changes how the defense has to play things, and they have to adjust on the fly. So I'm a big fan of a lot of pre-snap motion because for those reasons. All right, but great show, man. Great show. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. I got to get over to Locked On 49ers with my guy, Brian Peacock. Make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're going to be right back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. I appreciate all y'all. We have over 500 people for most of this show. Like button, subscribe button, all that good stuff. Call in. And listen, this show is never about me being right. This show is about having an open discussion with y'all. And I'll give my thoughts on things, and we'll talk through it. And I'm not somebody that's like, this guy is trash. And nah, man, like, let's just talk about what we're seeing, what we're talking about, and where we think guys are going, and have fun with it from that perspective. All right, have fun with it from that perspective. I appreciate everybody in here. I see my guy K. Dot. Any new merch? I'm working on it. I'm working on the new merch. Hopefully soon. I am working on it. But yeah, man. Hey, this is a great forum for just open communication, open conversation. Croc don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? So, but I like talking through a lot of it with y'all. So, see y'all tomorrow. I'm out. Peace.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Aaron Rodgers over midfield. He'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Crop Talk TV podcast. Peace.